Hello class. Today I want to look at scatter plots part 2. Okay, in this particular episode what we're going to look at is how do I construct a scatter plot and how do I do it on the calculator. So if you'll notice in our standard right here it says that you need to know how to construct a scatter plot. And that's what this episode is going to show. We're going to learn how to do it by hand and how to do it on the calculator. So let's take a look at doing this by hand. First off, in this particular set, in this question, we've got some data. And it says a history teacher asked her students how many hours of sleep they had the night before a test. The data below shows the number of hours the students slept and their score on the exam. Plot the data on the scatter plot. So what we are trying to determine in this particular data set is, do you get a better test score based on the number of hours you sleep? Okay, so this teacher asked each student how many hours of sleep they received before the test, and here's the grade that they made on the test. So now, in order for us to do that, the first thing we have to do is create a graph. Okay, and you'll notice the graph has already been created down here below. And our x-axis is the amount of sleep the student received, and the y-axis is our test score. So again, we're looking at, is your test score better depending upon how many hours you sleep? Okay, so what we do is we take our data points. So here's our first data point, 8 hours slept, 83 on the test. So these two pieces of information go together. So we have to keep them together. So we come down here and we go to 8, and we go all the way up to 83, and we put a dot. Okay, and you do the best you can with your numbers. Okay, then 786. So we go 7, and then go up to 86, and put a dot. And then 774, so here's 774, put a dot. And then 8, 88, and 6, 76, 5, 63, 7, 90, 4, 60, 9, 89, and then 7, 81. So as you can see, if we graph these points here, it does appear that there is an increasing graph there. So it kind of shows that there probably is a correlation. Okay, so if we look at as the number of hours increased of sleep, the grade went higher. Okay, this one right here definitely shows that less sleep does not improve your test score. Okay, and so that's how we actually do a scatter plot by hand. Okay, now what I'd like to do is take this same data and graph it on the graphing calculator. Okay, so let's see if we can do that. Let me pull up my calculator. Here it is. Okay, now the first thing that we have to do on a graphing calculator, and the one that we're using here is the TI-84 plus CE, the one that we use in class, is we have to put our data into the calculator. Okay, so we're going to hit Stat, and then because that's where everything is at, is in our statistics area, and we want to edit our menu or edit our data. So we press the number 1. Okay, and yours should look like this if you're using the same kind of calculator. Now we want to type in the same data into our calculator. Okay, so I'm going to type the X values, which are the hours slept, into L1, and the Y values, our test score, into L2. Okay, so we've got 8, enter, and we just start typing 8, and then 7, enter, 7, enter, 8, enter, 6, enter. Now I kind of run out of room here, so let me move this over here a little bit. And then, I messed up here. So let's do 8, move it back. So I was hitting the plus sign instead of the enter key. So 8, and then 7, enter, and 7, enter, 8, enter, 6, enter. Now let me move this back. Oh, goodness. 5, enter, 7, enter, 4, enter, 9, enter, 7, enter. Okay, then we go over, and now we've got to put in the other data points. So we're going to do 83, enter, 86. And if we did everything correctly, it should line up accordingly. So now that we've got our data typed in, we need to tell our calculator to actually make a a scatter plot, and that is found up here in stat plot. So we'll do second y equals, and we need to go into this first plot. So we'll select number 1, and the first thing we have to do is we've got to turn that plot on. So we'll hit the enter key to turn it on. Okay, we've got several different types of graphs that this calculator is capable of doing. We want to use the scatter plot. Okay, and then we've got our x numbers in L1, our y numbers in L2. If that ever changes, or we put them differently, you can find the L's up above 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we can select the appropriate one. Okay, and then we have a mark that we want to use for our scatter plot, and then this particular calculator can actually graph in color. Okay, now the next thing that we need to do is we need to set up our window. Okay, so we press the window button. This is our standard window, -10 to 10. Okay, so we want to set it up like the graph that we have on this paper here, or on the screen. Okay, so our x's go from 1 to 11. So I'm going to have these go from 0 to, and then go down to, let's just say 12. So I want to go a little bit bigger than what I have there. And we're counting by ones there, so I can count by ones. Okay, now we're going to look at our y's. Now our y's, you'll notice it goes from 0 to 60 real fast because we do a graph break right there. So I'm going to start my graph at 50, which will be my minimum. And in this particular one, it goes all the way up to 90. So I'm going to go up to 100 because I like going a little bit bigger than what the graph is. Okay, and this one, it says that we're counting by 5s. So the X scale and Y scale are the tick marks. So now that we've set up our window, if we hit graph now, if we did everything correctly, it should give us a scatter plot that looks just like this one here on the screen. We graph, and there it is. Now, one of the things that you can do on the calculators, you can look at every single data point. If you hit trace, it pops up with one of those data points, and it tells you what the X and Y value is. And we can just continue to cycle through them, and it tells you what each one of your points happen to be. Okay, so that is how we do a scatter plot by hand and a scatter plot on the calculator. Until next time.